Rise and Shine Nigeria, welcome to today's of the press session. It's still breakfast time right here, and I am David Alabi, and today we'll be looking at all of the newspaper headlines. And joining me to discuss the headlines from all of the national dailies is a political analyst, Ugochukwu Ikeakor. Good to have you join us. And how do you feel after yesterday's inauguration?
Well, kind of missed hope, but it's good to be here this morning.
Indeed. Okay, let's get to the business of today. Now, we start off with Vanguard newspaper. We see the pictorial here, President Muhammadu Buhari, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. We also see Abiodun Dakpo of Ogun State, as well as Makinde of Oyo State, all of them taking their oath of office and allegiance. And Buhari mom, as governors reel out promises. Oyo, we have multiple riders here. Oyo can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage for now. That's according to Makinde. Abiodun vows to tackle unemployment in Ogun State. I'll fulfill campaign promises. That's according to Sanwo-Olu. El Rufai extends maternity leave to 6 months in Kaduna State. And I'll build a stronger Delta. That's according to Governor Okowa. And looking at the state of the nation, unless he misreads his re-election as an endorsement of his first-term performance, President Buhari should admit that he did not keep his 2015 electoral promise. That's an article there in page 32. And bank CEOs condemn smear campaign by bad debtors. Page 10 has details there talking about business, and Obasanjo, Abubakar, Jonathan absent as Buhari Oshibajo take oath of office for second term. Obasanjo 393 others escape plane mishap, and Oshodi Apapa gridlock. Truck drivers adamant maintain grip on roads, and security dealers unfold survival strategies for the capital market. Christian Association of Nigeria to President Buhari, governors don't disappoint the masses, and the Emir of Emir Sanusi of absent as Ganduje was sworn in for a second term yesterday. Now, good, the biggest story from yesterday, the president didn't give a speech. So many people were waiting with bated breath, expecting that we would have a feel of what the president's new stance would really be, if there's going to be a change in his disposition, in his mannerism. And like you rightly mentioned, the other day we had a conversation, if he would speak from his heart. Well, we didn't have any speech from him, but we also had other governors reeling out promises here and there. So let's start with President Buhari not giving the speech, and then we'll now do a comparison of other governors and what they've said so far. What do you make of him keeping him until June 12? I
think it's a big disappointment. All right, May 29th, that was yesterday, was the inauguration day. All right, there should be an inauguration speech, and that's how it has been since 1999. We know that June 12th is coming, all right? But
this was just a low key, so it was just
there's nothing low key about it. If the president was there at Eagle Square, we had the vice president. He was sworn in. We have the service chiefs. We have the chief justice. We have people watching all over the world. We have Nigerians watching all over television, on the various social media platforms. There's nothing low key about it. If it was low key, they should have done inside one room in Aso Rock. So for them to waste taxpayers' money in Aso Rock to say that it's low-key, I think it's a little bit disappointing. The disappointment is huge, not a little bit, because to an extent, you have Nigerians that are itching to hear what you want to do for the nation. Democracy Day, that is on June 12th, I think on that day, it's easier to write a speech on how our democracy has formed and how our democracy has thrived over the last 20 years. But yesterday was the inauguration. You need to touch on, okay, what do I plan to do of security? We have security issues across the country. What am I doing for the economy? All right. Yesterday, Forbes Africa wrote there was a very bad piece on that about our economy. So we need to know, okay, what am I doing? How do I restore investors' confidence in Nigeria? And you can't postpone that for the next 2 weeks. The next 2 weeks is quite a lot of time. And according to his one of his media aide, Garba Shehu, he's leaving for
Saudi Arabia.
So if he has time to travel, I don't think he should have time to give us a simple speech that doesn't. He's not even the one writing it. So just mandate the guys who are supposed to write for you to write, and just come and read it. So
you're saying his handlers did not do a good job?
No, I'm saying that the president himself failed to do what he's supposed to do because he employed the handlers.
Okay. Now, let's also talk about the other state governors now. Oyo State Governor Makinde says that they can't afford to pay 30,000 naira minimum wage. And we know from the Governors Forum, they said that there is no state that should give the excuse of non-payment of this money. And Dr. Abiodun also says that he's vowing to tackle unemployment in the state. Sanwo-Olu also saying he's going to fulfill his campaign promises. El-Rufai to extend maternity leave to 6 months in Kaduna State. And Governor Okowa also says that he'll build a stronger Delta State. Once again, some would also say that, don't you necessarily think these are just mere words and we are now all looking out to say the how? How are you going to go about it? For example, for Delta State, we still know what the issues that have been raised in terms of funds from the schools, and looking at the state of 1,124 schools, and it's in a very deplorable state. The governor has not given any good or convincing report to that. We look at so unemployment in the state, we know how high that still remains, and to what extent will he be able to achieve this? Are we putting an assessment, and when do we call the shots? Or your state saying 30,000 naira, it's not feasible?
Well, I think for that Biodun, I think I'll give him a benefit of doubt, right? For someone that has a thriving business, well, he at present is no longer a businessman, right? Because he's the governor of Ogun State, so he can't do that. The constitution does not allow him to do two things at a time. But I think he had a thriving business. He's a petroleum company and the rest of things that he did as a private. As a private individual. What I'm saying, why I said I want to give him a benefit of that, if he was able to create wealth, all right, create employment.
So job creation.
Yeah, job creation. I think as a governor, you understand what it means to manage wealth, and I want to believe that truly, because Ogun State is placed in a very strategic place as a state, all right? Access to Lagos, access to Ibadan, so there is their landmass and everywhere. So it's easier for him, if he's a smart man, and I want to believe he is, to attract investors to Ogun State, to make it easy for people in Ogun State to come into Lagos easily. If he can do that, he can as well as take a large population of Lagos down to Ogun State, and when they move there, they can start paying their taxes and these other things, and that will bring more money to the state. So if he said he can reduce unemployment, you just need to let us know, okay, how many percentage do I want to reduce? So make it a little bit well known, so that people can ask you in the next couple of months. People can say, okay, let's question you. What have you been able to do so far? So and for Makinde, I think for me, yesterday I was following his inauguration. He was able to open one bridge that Ajimobi closed for close to 8 years, and he named it Freedom Bridge. So saying this thing might not put him on a very good footing with the labor leaders, all right? But it's also good for governors to come out at this point to say, okay, this is what I can do and this is what I cannot do. So you can measure me on that. There's no need to come in and say, okay, I will pay 50,000 naira every month for the state, 30,000. Because the truth is, all the states in Nigeria are, it might be difficult to say, okay, some of them do not have the kind of money Lagos has at the moment. But it's good for him to say, okay, this is what I can do. If it's possible, let the labor leaders engage him and see how possible he can do what he's supposed to do.
Okay. Now, moving away from Vanguard newspaper, now we now shift focus to the Nation newspaper. Once again, we see the pictorials here taking the office of the oath of office and allegiance, the different governors from Oyo, Ogun, Kwara State, Lagos State, as well as President Muhammadu Buhari. And to the top of the newspaper, Airways retirees get 22.6 billion naira entitlement. Page 8 has details. I have no problems with Jonathan. That's according to Syriac Dixon. And US-China brawl drives down oil prices. Page 11 has that talking business. NYSC stop overage graduates. Page 7 has details of that call. And Europa, Chelsea hammers Arsenal 4-1, and woman arrested for her own kidnap. Page 5 has details there. President Buhari, governors take oath amid hopes for better days. That's still the biggest story so far. And an NBA cautions executive against influencing judges in post-election litigation. And Nigeria off death roll in Singapore. Let's talk about aviation-related matters now. Having for these retirees to have the rest of their packages, severance packages, and then their balance as pensioners given to them, is a step in the right direction, you would say.
It's a step in the right direction.
The initial fuss was raised when the first amount was released, and they were now asking when exactly we would have the second batch. So
it is a step in the right direction, and it shows that the people that are handling their affairs within the pension board understand what they are doing. And my own issue is that it shouldn't take long, all right? because at the end of the day, some of them might have passed.
Approval is different from disbursement.
Yeah, approval is different from disbursement. But if the first batch has received their entitlement and this is the second batch, let's hope that they'll do it on time. My issue is that if for someone that have served like it's 30 years, 30-something years, 20-something years in the Civil Service Commission, and at the end of the day, the person lives 10 years, 5 years, the person didn't get his money. I think it's inhumane, and our leaders should be more empathetic towards carrying out their duties.
But looking at how the verification and data capturing process too, some have also said we've not been able to finalize that process because that eases the disbursement of these funds too as well.
Well, I think technology has made a lot of things easier for us, all right? I strongly have a big challenge with public officials that will give us excuses on what they failed to do, all right? The reason why you're in a position of authority is to find solutions, not to give us excuses, all right? If verification is being difficult, if verification is being a challenge to that agency or whoever is in charge, then put down your resignation letter and leave. So let's get somebody that understands, okay, how the process of, okay, getting people verified.
So you say systems must work.
The system must work. And if somebody cannot do it very well and give us excuses, please, can the person just go back to his or her village or his community? Okay.
Now, going on to the Punch newspaper, the federal government social safety program gulps 471 billion naira in 3 years. Page 27 has details, the pictorials again. The focus of yesterday was the inauguration. PDP, others knock president for keeping mum. Obasanjo, Jonathan absent yesterday. Page 2 has details. In a Zik scandal, Senate members have messed up, says pro-chancellor. Lagos businessman's decomposing corpse found inside Magodo residence, and plane conveying Obasanjo. Others experienced bad weather and lands at second attempt. Page 41 has details there. And I will prioritize education, health, rural roads. That's according to Governor Abiodun there. And will thrive despite hard times. That's also a charge from Babajide Sanwo-Olu, governor of Lagos State. And Makinde says Oyo can't pay 30,000 naira minimum wage and scraps tuition. Page 3. Federal government liable to rising insecurity. Afenifere Emir Oyaneze Indigbo tell Buhari. And Chelsea thump Arsenal 4-1 to win Europa League. Page 47 has details. And NYC to include dates of birth on certificates as well. Page 12 has details. But let's now talk about the federal government safety program gulping 471 billion naira. We know this touches on Empower, the conditional cash transfers, national homegrown school feeding program, and a whole lot more.
I think the reason why we're having this information right now is because the wife of the president accused them of some level of embezzlement a couple of days back, and I think this is reactionary, all right? Because now they're trying to prove to us that this is why they've spent so much, and this is why they've spent so money. At the end of the day, some of these agencies or institutions of government that we know, all right, some of them are as conduit pipe for them to siphon money and to do every other thing. If the wife of the president is saying, okay, I believe on my own capacity there's a level of embezzlement, I think it should be taken seriously. And for me, I don't think we should believe what the people in charge of the money transfer and the rest of them are doing. If it's possible, we should get an independent auditor to audit their pocket to say, okay, how much was given to you? How much did you use? We're there at a point where people have to falsify numbers to get some things done. If that could be done right, then we'll get to the end of the story.
Okay. Now we also move over now to this day newspaper. President Muhammadu Buhari sworn in for second term with high hopes. 29 other governors take oath of office in low-key ceremonies, and 91 world leaders to attend June 12 Democracy Day event. And the top of the newspaper, banks plan to blacklist chronic debtors to create black book, share details among financial institutions. Now, trade wars as well, disruptions drag oil price down to $69 per barrel. But talking about banks now taking this drastic action, CEOs have been compelled to blacklist or take this initiative, especially with high profile debtors as well, because it's time to just review this whole harassment and criminalization of bank CEOs by law enforcement agencies, wouldn't you say?
No, I think it's sad that we're in an economy where credit is very important. And if you're a businessman, you need credit to do your business, you need loan, you need whatever to run your business daily. The banks are there to make all these facilities available for you. And if there is a time that you're supposed to pay back your loan, you didn't pay back your loan, you go to bank Z to collect another money, they move to bank Y to collect another money. You're creating a web of debt around the economy, and it's not good. So if the bank CEOs are planning to create a black book where they say, okay, this person is a debtor, please don't give this person your money, this person is a debtor, don't give. I think for me, I think it's a step in the right direction for themselves, because I shouldn't be the one telling a bank CEO, okay, don't do this thing, because they don't understand, because some of these things are bad debt. It affects their portfolio at the end of the year, it affects what they're doing, it affects their projection at the end of the year, and these guys are not willing to pay. And we're talking about people that maybe some of them are very strong in the political circle, they're very strong in the business circle, so they can use their influence to intimidate a bank CEO if possible for them. So if the bank CEO is saying, okay, see, if you're the bank manager maybe for the branch in Lagos, this guy comes to you, please don't give him any money. Because the reason why we're doing this is because he has failed to pay back the loan he has collected over the last few months or a few years. So I think it's a step in the right direction. People should be able to say, if you're creditworthy, you go to the bank, you collect the credit, collect the loan facility, do what you say you're going to do with the money. Don't use it to go and build a house. If you say you want money to maybe import something or to get something done maybe from one other country or to do something, then use the money to go and do something else.
This initiative wouldn't be lopsided, as we've also seen with within different sectors of our democracy, because so many have said that the fight against corruption, the fight against sharp practices has always been lopsided, and it's always to favor some and to the detriment of others. Hopefully we see...
I think it's going to be different, because at the end of the day, banks are private enterprises, and they answer to the shareholders, they answer to the people that...
Well, their shareholders are also people we know in authority as well.
But the best thing they will do for themselves is to keep themselves afloat. You don't want to lose your job.
Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Ugochukwu.
Thank you for having me.
Now we are going to bring you sports news update, as well as all of the biggest stories making the headlines on the national dailies. Don't go anywhere. We're still having breakfast here. Well, glad to have you back, and we are still reviewing our newspaper headlines here with our sports correspondent this time around. Samson, good morning. It's been quite an interesting last 24 hours, you would say, between Chelsea and Arsenal. But now let's quickly go into the big stories here, and then we'll now come back to Chelsea and Arsenal. Well, Chelsea 4, Arsenal 1, Europa Kings, and Hazard fires Chelsea to glory in Baku as Arsenal concede 4 goals in 23 minutes. And Nigeria under 20 versus Ukraine under 20. It's win or bust for Flying Eagles. Aigbogun says his boys will bounce back against Ukraine. And Fena wants £3 million to free Moses for Inter, and Madrid to unveil Hazard on Monday. Barca offer continue to PSG in Neymar deal, and United ready to outbid Barca for delight, and as well as Ikeakor pleads for Gala stay. And Real Madrid makes Ramos U-turn, Bayern launch £80 million bid for Dybala, and then Sane deal difficult for Bayern. And we'll just quickly take a flip to the back page. I think we have all of the same here. Okay. Now, so Samson, yesterday was interesting. Very, very interesting. I like that score line, don't you?
Yes, 4-1. It was quite flattering, considering the first half, which was goalless. So the match itself, I think Arsenal didn't approach it with the right mentality. It was the match of the season for them. They had a second shot at Champions League football, and the way they approached it...
In pains.
Severe pains. Don't mention that beside the door. I think they just collapsed after the first goal. The first half was goalless. They didn't start the second half so well, because within 4 minutes they considered a goal, you know, Oliver Giroud's goal, and afterwards it was more like a downward spiral, you know, from there. It calls to question their ability to react to difficult situations like that, and more importantly, you know, it calls to question the the kind of strength they have, both mentally and psychologically, to recover from blows like that.
Because so you're saying Arsenal is losing its weight?
Yes, they were weak, kind of, in terms of responding to that early goal in the second half. And more importantly, you really can't pinpoint a particular player from the Arsenal squad who was a standout performer. It was more of a collective, thing, and everyone struggled on the night. Kudos to Chelsea, who made it count. And you look at it, for Chelsea, for all of the talks of Sarri being sacked, player parts also, which we saw in the Carabao Cup final between the goalkeeper and the coach, I think they've had a very decent season. 2 cup finals, won a European title, finished 3rd in the league. No one would have expected them to, win the league, considering Chelsea, City and Liverpool's strength. So it's been a great season for Chelsea, really.
Okay, and it's win or bust for Flying Eagles now. Igbogun says that its boys will bounce back against Ukraine.
Let's hope. Talk is cheap. Let's hope that they put, they work on the field of play rather than just, mere talks. Because the performance against USA was lethargic. It was really appalling in terms of the way they controlled the ball, movements on and off the ball, trying to close up spaces. Even defensively, they were awful. So a whole lot has to change. And this is a win or bust game for them. If they draw, it's very difficult because USA are playing Qatar. And that's almost, guarantee them 3 points for USA. So Ukraine have qualified already. USA on the verge of qualifying. We need to get the job done. So it's really difficult for us.
Okay, and Fena wants £3 million to free Moses for Inter Milan.
Well, it's difficult to tell now because Chelsea's transfer ban is still on. Moses was not sold, out on loan. So if they fail with the appeal at the Court of Arbitration for Sports, it's possible that they will recall Moses so as to have, strength in depth, since they would not be able to sign players for 2 transfer windows. Having said that, if they get the kind of verdict they want from CAS, then they may probably sell Moses. And with Conte on the verge of signing for Inter Milan, you get the feeling that he may want to go for Inter Milan than, stay at Fenerbahce. Okay,
well, time wouldn't give us much more to be able to touch on different areas, but it's 22 days to go to Egypt 2019 and looking at the Africa Cup of Nations now. How do you expect preparations to unfold? To what level would you expect that we wrap up all of the different efforts from the players and field to the actual field?
Well, there's a professional squad out. I expect that in the coming days, probably next week, we should have the full squad announced so that the players know that in for this, and preparations are in top gears in terms of friendly matches, grade A friendly matches.
Okay. Thank you much for your time, Samson. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, and hopefully we have interesting wins like Chelsea celebrating now.
I know where you're coming from.
And this is where the cookie crumbles on today's edition of Off the Press. Make sure you remain tuned to Plus TV Africa. We still have plenty more updates and programming for you. It's still breakfast time here, and we have plenty of tea.